Welcome to Healing Minds, Stories of Resiliency and Recovery, a conversation held at the intersection of substance abuse, mental health, and everyday living. Your hosts, Marc Regala and Justin Wolf, bring both professional expertise and personal understanding to the table. So welcome to the conversation. Let's dive in.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Healing Minds, Stories of Resiliency and Recovery. I'm your host, Justin Wolf, joined by my co-host, Marc Regala. Marc, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good. It's the middle of January. I'm starting to get my gym equipment back now that New Year's resolutions are already starting to fall off.
Fantastic. Look at them all fall by the wayside.
No discipline.
Pure
No discipline.
dedication. And our guest, Sergio, here this evening, obviously understands what you're referencing because, nothing stands between you and those weights, as we all know, Marc. So
he's joined with a couple of dumbbells as well, huh?
It's like you said, I think we got a great show kind of lined up here. We'll talk a little bit about Marc's goals and aspirations for the new year with his gains, his the arms and the inches he's looking to put on his bicep. So we'll kind of get this rocking and rolling here. So Sergio, thanks for joining us tonight. I've heard a little bit about your story from Marc, but I know we're really excited to kind of have you here to kind of share just kind of like your journey of kind of what brought you here and kind of where you've been and what kind of helped you get to where you are today. So if you wouldn't mind kind of opening it up to kind of share some hope and inspiration to those listening today.
Yeah, Justin.
Where you've been, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And Marc, first of all, thanks for the invite. I've enjoyed your guys' videos and the talks and the guests on there. So I really appreciate being invited on this. I mean, there's so much to talk about, but, I guess I'll get pretty much to the point on what brought me here, if you will. I mean, just to give you a little background, I got two older brothers. I'm the youngest of three. Grew up in a neighborhood which is called the Little Village, rough, gang-infested neighborhood, which pretty much is the same, nothing's changed around there. But, grew up in a rough neighborhood and pretty much dysfunctional family. Well, my dad was alcoholic, which I wasn't aware of at an early age. He was a hardworking man, that's for sure. Never missed a day of work, Justin. And my mom worked, so both of them were working, middle-class people with three boys, and made a lot of sacrifice. They put us through private school, grammar school, through high school. And I was pretty much involved in the area where my dad would drink in-house. So I would always see him having his bottle. His bottle was always Christian Brothers, always in the pantry. So he never left to the bars, if you will. It was always inside the house. So that was always exposed to the drinking, which, seemed normal, casual, if you will, because he would drink and yet he would always work. He never missed a day of work. Never, And a lot of my friends would drink. So it wasn't a big deal of drinking. I saw it as social, hanging out with the friends. My dad would drink. So I didn't see a big deal of it until later when I got married. Fast forward another 20 years when I got married at 27, and married. And then I had my two kids. And, hey, I worked hard, support the family. Why don't I have a few drinks? Mm-hmm. My dad did it. Friends did it. It was casual. And I think at that mindset, an alcoholic, Justin, is someone that, you see on the streets that has no job. They're either homeless. Right. That's an alcoholic. That's a drunk. Right. Not me. I'm just a weekend drinker. Mm-hmm. And I drank on the weekends, but I made up a lot for it. I didn't drink during the week. I would binge drink Friday, Saturday. Mm-hmm. Was married 15 years. We went our separate ways. And it wasn't really the drinking. It was just went our separate ways. But in 2012, divorce pretty much. And that's during the time when in 2016, I met Marc. I was still single and trying to recuperate from my marriage. That's when really the drinking came a lot more serious. It wasn't just on the weekends anymore. It was during the day, a couple of drinks at night, but I never missed a day of work. So I'm not an alcoholic, mind you. Okay. Right. So those are homeless. They miss work. Not me. I can handle it. Well, fast forward for a few years, Father's Day, because I was close to my dad when he passed away a long time ago. I was in a binge, I think, in that month of June and July. And then came his birthday. No, this was in April. A year later in April, I drank for a lot for that full year, Justin.
Yeah.
And at night, 2, 3 in the morning, I would call Mark. It was Father's Day the following year, Father's Day. Yeah. And I would call him, I think, just about 2 or 3 times in 1 month. And he talked to me, and I stopped drinking that week. But then, I figured I stopped, reward myself, right? I stopped for a week, congratulate myself. So I'm going to get a beer.
Right.
After I called Mark and didn't take to his advice, but it always stood behind me. I'm like, I'm going to have a beer. In my home, my daughter lives with me for the last 2 years. So I've kind of hidden my drinking. She caught me drinking not once, but twice. Hidden. The first time she got mad, she grabbed my Beck's because I would drink a 4-pack of Beck's. She dumped it out and was upset at me.
Yeah.
2 weeks later, she caught it in one of the cupboards, hiding behind. When I would cook, I would hide it, right? Like my dad would keep it in a pantry, kind of supposedly hidden from us.
Mm-hmm.
So here I am with that cycle. Like him, I'm over here drinking and hiding it from my kids, like he hid it from us or tried to. And this is all an after fact now that I'm thinking. But during that time, I wasn't thinking, I'm doing it like my dad. I'm alcoholic. No. And when she called me the third time, Justin, and with the beer, I opened the cupboard, I grabbed the beer, she popped from her room. I didn't hear her coming. She saw me, and I was guzzling that freaking beer, and she just stood like that, looking at me.
Mm-hmm.
And that look she gave me, Justin, was like disappointment, angry, disgusted, hurt. And when I saw her, that look, I saw myself when I tried to stop my dad drinking.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I saw her. I saw myself in her. She didn't say a word, but the way she looked at me spoke 1,000 words, man.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when it really hit me. What the hell am I supposed to do now?
Yeah.
Where I don't want to continue this cycle. Okay, what my dad would do, a hardworking man. I like to think I'm a hardworking man, but he was hiding his booze. He wasn't fooling nobody. He was drinking. He was alcoholic. Guess what? I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And when I saw that look at my daughter, Justin, I'm like, you know what? You better do something.
Yeah.
So what I did, I went in the garage. It was early. It was on a weekend. I went in the garage because I still had 3 beers, mind you. So I finished it in there. Let me finish these beers, right?
Yeah, of course.
I'm not gonna waste.
I'm gonna pour it out. Why would you do that? Like, there's shame, there's disappointment. Let's pour it.
She busted me already. Oh, screw it. So let me just drink out there, so she won't have to see me. But I finished it, and then I wrote a letter. I wrote a letter to myself. That was like a contract to myself. This was already 4 or 5 in the afternoon. Justin, I wrote a letter. I called Mark. I don't know if you remember, Mark. I called him. It was July 23rd of last year, Austin. It was like a contract for me to put myself accountable. I showed it to Mark. The next day, I handed it to my daughter. And since then, July 23rd of last year, I've been sober already, for 17 months, clean and sober. And what's been helping me a lot is staying busy in work, activities, involved with my daughter more, with my son, and just reading, and physical activities, which I've lost. I'm proud to say I've lost 25 pounds within the last 3 months. So now it's a different mindset, Justin, where it's not just the mental. I want to get physically, spiritually into a level where, listen, it took me, I'm 57 years old. It took me a freaking long time to say I'm an alcoholic.
Right.
Why? Because my definition was those that drink are on the streets, they're homeless, they can't hold a job. But guess what? I'm a functional alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, what inspired me was Marc. But what pushed me over to completely stop was my daughter's look, where I know I had to end the cycle. I had to, for my health and for my kids. So that's where I'm at as of today, a lot more happier. I get up better in the morning. I'll tell you that,
I would imagine so.
And everybody's definition is different. Justin, those that are going to watch, I know everybody's story is different, but my thing would be is they can do it. You got to help yourself because you're the foundation, right? If you want to build up, you have to build a solid foundation, just like a pyramid or any kind of building, right? Where you got to set something boundaries. You got to set yourself some goals of what you want to do and for who. For you first. Don't do it for your wife, your kids, or your friend. You need to first do it for yourself, right? But along the way, we need that support system, right? As you're built, like example, I think of a pyramid, right? If you're the foundation and they're building things on you or you're building up, every cube that's on there in the pyramid, if it's skewed a little bit here, a little bit there, that's fine. But as long as somebody kind of nudges that in, so it can continue growing upward, right? And I think that support I find in your videos, like I said, I feel like I've known you, Marc. I've known him already 8 years, since 2016.
Wow.
And if it wasn't for Marc, persistence in talking and really awakening what I should have done a long time ago, I think I would have been dead.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Well, let me just say and share, man, like, congratulations on those 17 months. Like, that's incredible. That's such a gift. And I'm just like, as you're kind of sharing this story, you're talking about it, you're kind of talking about like that interaction, between you and your daughter. Like, I just want to kind of revisit that. Like, you talked about like, hey, she found it and she poured it out. That wasn't enough to get you to stop. And then you find yourself doing exactly similar behavior of what you observed and saw your father doing as a child, kind of growing up. And you find yourself kind of falling into that same pattern. And then seeing her face in that moment was enough for you to kind of say, hey, this is it. Why? Like, what do you think it was like in that moment that you were in a position where you were able to kind of receive that and hear that message and be like, this is that time now?
That's a good question. I think it's always been, and I think everybody who has an alcohol drinking is, I'm going to stop, or I can stop when I want to, or I can slow down. I'll just kick back a little bit. I won't, instead of, a 12-pack, I'll drink 3 beers instead. I think always in the back of my mind, I was easing up to closer to stopping. That I have not drank a lot every week, and I kind of slow down. But what really resonated with me looking at my daughter, Justin, was one time, and I will never forget this. I was 13 years old. My dad was sitting on the couch. I came in from outside. He was sitting, and I know he was drinking. He was already buzzed. And I had a tape recorder. And I went by him, and I started recording. I was making him promise me, Justin, Pa, you're drinking. No, I'm not, son. I'm not. I go, get up, get up. You have a little quart, a little pint underneath your sofa. No, I don't, son. Yes, you do, Pa. And I'm recording this.
Yeah.
I stuck my hand under the couch. Sure enough, I pulled up his Christian bottle, a Christian, a little pint.
Yeah.
And my dad just didn't know what the hell to say to me.
Mm.
And when I looked at him and I told him, promise me, and I was recording it. So next time when he drinks, I played it to him. You promised me, Dad, remember this? Listen. No, that's not me, son. That's not me. You're playing games. That's
Oh,
not me. And he denied it blatantly, man, in my face. And I remember how I felt. So when I saw that look, my
yeah.
daughter, again, didn't have to say one damn word. Just when I saw her, that was me.
Yeah.
And I go, I'm not going to do that to my daughter like what my dad did to me.
Yeah.
And man, that look, I couldn't do that to no more because it's hurting her and I need help. Not just for her, but me personally, as a man, as a father. What example? I got to stop this cycle of
Definitely.
my dad drinking. And of course, I had two uncles that were alcoholics too.
Yeah.
So, Justin, you can talk about hereditary, it's biological or psychological. People, it depends who you ask, what they say, what they think about it. It might be a combination of both.
Right.
But I had to do something on that point. I had to. Already 57 years old, and God, enough is enough.
Right.
So that was my turning point. It was accumulation. To go back to your question, was what prompted me. Like I said, I think back in my mind, I had to ease up. I had to stop. And some people don't listen. Like my dad, rest in peace. He had cancer, Justin, and he stopped drinking for 2 years. He had colon cancer, and he did stop for 2 years, but
Yeah.
then he started up again.
Yeah.
So now things are a little different. There is help. Don't be afraid to go out asking for it. I've gotten it for Marc. He's always been. I told
Yeah.
him my silent angel, my guardian angel, gives me a kick in the ass. Has good advice, and I have other friends that have been sober, but Marc has always been the guy that really has been persistent in helping me and continue this journey of mine. And plus, my motivation is my family as well. But you really need to, as an individual, do it for you first, and everybody else is going to benefit from your
Yeah.
sobriety.
A couple of things I want to say. So, well, first of all, that whole comment about why you were different and you're not an alcoholic, the brain plays tricks on us. You know, the brain is always going to look at the differences and why we're different than everybody else. The truth be told is the vast majority of alcoholics and drug addicts I know are white collar desk jobs. They're not the quote unquote junkie on the corner or the homeless person on the corner. That's the stigma.
Right.
That's the stigma. Okay, it's a silent disease. You don't know. I didn't know that you were drinking that much back in the day. But this is where the story gets a little more interesting, Justin, and I got to give Sergio some props too. I met him in 2016. Okay, 2016 till the rest of my tenure with that company, it was a downhill friggin' slide for me. That was when my addiction was getting really, 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 really bad. And there were a lot of people whispering and talking, and they didn't know what to do with me. But there were three individuals that stepped up and were trying to have conversations to try to get me better. Okay. One was that man right there. Okay. There's two other individuals. I'm going to respect their privacy too. They're the ones that took me to my first AA meeting ever. The ironic part about it is get on the other side, live a life of recovery, and all three of the people that actually stepped up, unbeknownst to me, had their own struggles and their own battles. Okay. So they had an understanding, they had an empathy there. And I think that's why they stepped up and tried to help me when they saw me going down. Unfortunately, one of those individuals is no longer with us.
Mm-hmm.
He passed away right around St. Patrick's Day of last year.
Right.
Another individual, okay, is about 60 days sober. Okay, had some conversations with him, but I can't, I mean, it was
Right.
just more or less some guidance or what have you. And then you got Sergio at 17 months. And, him and I had a lot of conversations, a lot of heart to hearts when I was in active addiction and when he was battling his demons. And I remember the one thing that I told him, because we did talk about the daughter situation and her catching and drinking and stuff like that, is just remember my story, man. Because I got 4 kids, they're all adults, none of my kids talk to me. I go, don't do what I did. Get yourself straight right now. Have that relationship with your daughter and be the dad that she wants you to be. Right. And I do remember when he wrote that letter, he sent it to me, I think in a text. It was a text. You texted it all out to me. I remember reading it. I remember having that conversation, with you, and he's never looked back.
Mm-hmm.
There's always similarities in stories. Okay, we tend to look at the differences why we're different. There's always similarities. There's little tidbits here that I didn't realize, like you were talking about Father's Day and your dad's birthday. I was really weird about certain days and so forth. I mean, the last day that I basically overdosed and was very lucky to survive, I was on a bender of all benders. That was my grandpa's birthday. That was my mom's dad's birthday. Okay, it was a man that was special, near and dear to my heart. So there's always similarities. You just got to pay attention to the words, and that's what you want to focus on. I mean, I had alcoholism running up and down my family.
Right.
And I think that when you're raised in that environment, you're more prone to think that that's your reward at the end of the day when you're raised that way. Have a drink, and it starts so innocently, and it just gets out of control over a period of time, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. But I'm proud of this man. I want to thank him because as much as I've tried to help him, he's helped me. I mean, like I said, he was one of 3 of my sales reps that were there for me when I was at my worst. He saw me pretty bad, Justin.
Yeah.
I remember one day when he came in the office, and the office was like an ice cooler, Sergio, and I was sweating profusely and had the herky-jerky motions, and you shut the door and said, "What is going on, man?"
Yeah. No, I
You
remember
remember
that.
that.
Of course. I remember at times, Justin, I would park in the morning, he had a corner window at that too, a corner window, and the blinds weren't completely shut, just vertical blinds where you can still see in there. And I would see him kind of rocking back and forth, and I would see him pretty much for a whole week like that. And this was early in the morning, and he was my manager, and something told me I had to say something, and I again, I unconsciously, but now looking back, Justin, it's like, hey, I wish people would approach my dad. I don't know if they did. I was still young. I wish they would approach him, even though he would have, hey, what the hell's your problem? Leave me alone. I'm not an alcoholic. At least you make an attempt, an honest attempt, to do that, and to Marc's credit, he's turned his life around. He's we made full circle again. We worked together. We didn't stay in touch entirely for a few years, but now we're back, and even better and stronger, if you will. And you feed each other's that positive energy, and also, Justin, you got to be truthful with each other, and to what you say. What I'm not saying to be cruel, but hey, what the hell, bro? What are you doing? Did you do this? Or we talk about relationship outside of the family, boyfriend, girlfriend, like father and daughter, and one of the things that really got me to help myself, Justin, and again to your question, because it's rings so true. What got me over that hump? After trying to be sober for 3 months, 4 months. What really is making me continue is when Marc shared his story. And it hurts at home about his relationship or lack thereof with his kids. When my daughter saw me like that, and I felt that I was looking like that with my dad, but then I don't want to have that relationship with my daughter when she won't speak with me, and put her in that position like I was. How can I love a man so much and yet hate him? Then kids don't understand hate the disease, right? Well, what's the disease? Well, I'm looking at my dad. What disease am I looking? I'm seeing him drink. It's like you can't separate that. Well, what the hell are you talking disease? He's drinking. What disease ain't making him? per se. He's grabbing it. He's went to go buy it. He's bringing it home, and he has the audacity to drink and with me in the house in front of me.
Right.
Dad, what the hell? What the F?
Yeah.
Right. And when she looked at me, that was it, you know, and it's different for everybody. I wish I would have done this sooner, Justin, in my early 20s, if you will, 30s. And I feel I've wasted. That's the other guilt that I've had. The divorce, I blame everything for drinking. The guilt I have.
Yeah.
We drink when we're happy. You drink when you're sad. You drink to celebrate. You drink just to freaking drink, or your team is winning. You know,
Whatever
it's
it is.
so easily accessible. Yeah, whatever. You know, any freaking excuse. It's so easy to fall into this.
Definitely.
And I wish people would do this sooner. You know, weekend warrior, it's just a weekends. No, if you're finding yourself constantly drinking and wanting more on a binge during the week or weekend, you know, you got to relook at yourself,
Right.
you know, and reflect really hard. And I didn't do that hard enough because, again, what Mark was saying and you guys, I grew up in that environment. Boy, drinking was acceptable. And I'm not an alcoholic because I'm working. I have a house. You know, I'm still making money. So, no, I'm not an alcoholic. But, hey,
Right.
I'm freaking am an alcoholic. And I say that to some point, as crazy as some honor badge, some proud, because despite my drinking, I'm still good in health. Justin,
Yeah.
I am in good health. I've had blood work. I had this, and Mark, you know, when I had despite that, God bless, man, I am still in good health, God willing. Now, who knows later in years, right? Things can happen. But for me to be drinking for that freaking 50 years plus, my heart, my pipes, if you will, I am in really good shape. So I've been blessed and lucky so far. And not many are going to be blessed or lucky like I have. So if there's something that they need to talk to, I would strongly recommend to reach out to either Mark, you watch your videos, or somebody in their community, somebody in the family, even if they're thinking or not of their alcoholics or substance abuse, talk to somebody, reach out to somebody.
Yeah.
Well, and Sergio, as you're sharing your story, man, and you're talking about this, like you're kind of hitting on all these different points. You're kind of like you're kind of connecting these dots of what you've been through, what you experienced. And I think that's part of the biggest challenge is like, hey, once I put this down, that means I got to go face to face with what it is that I've been running from. And I got to figure out how I heal this pain or this hurt that's inside of me so that I don't continue to go down that same road. Maybe same behavior, different drug of choice, different action. And so what was that like for you to kind of tap into that? Because you've really highlighted a lot of kind of like the parallels between your experiences with your father and what you saw your daughter having with you. So I'm just wondering for you, man, how was that to kind of really start diving into all of that?
You know, it's kind of ironic what you say that as far as pain and the guilt. I still have that, Justin, the pain.
Yeah.
Especially the guilt that during the divorce, you know, that I know it affects your kids. I don't know how well we co-parent our kids. They are going to be affected no matter what. It's unfortunate. You know, we're still in good terms with my ex. My kids are older now. They're my daughter's 24, my son's 21. So they're older, but we did get divorced when they were 5 and 3 at an early age. And a lot of it I know was the guilt. That was my justification and / excuse for drinking. But now, and that only numbed the situation, Justin, as we know, hey, I'm happy for that moment, but I'm still me, right? You physically go to Paris, you go to Mexico, you go to China, but your mind is still with you, you know? So what does drinking accomplish? So now how I go through it, I accept the pain, Justin. I live with it and live through it.
Mhm.
I live with it and live through it. And I keep myself busy cooking, work, exercise, spend time with my kids. You always want to be mentally either reading, find that pain, accept it to a point where you want people around you
Yeah.
to kind of help you through saying it's okay. It's okay not to be okay,
Mhm.
but it's not right to use your drugs to numb that pain. It is not right
Yeah.
to drink. Accept that pain and live with it and correct it in your own mind. Don't be boo-hooing. I'm guilty. You know what? Do that when your loved ones are gone. Even that, I tell my kids, grieve for me a day or two, but I'll throw a lightning bolt from heaven and burn your ass if you're going to be depressed all the time. You
Yeah.
follow me? Try to be
Yeah.
positive, man. Try to. I know it's a lot of work. I know it can. That's why you need to surround someone, a friend or your spouse or strangers. Sometimes, we talk better with strangers, right? Because they're not judging us.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
accept that pain to a point where you kind of do something good with it. You hear a lot of other people that lose their children at
Mhm.
a early age and they go to depression, but then they find their cause. They're using that pain to help others. So if you're not going to help others, help yourself with that
Mhm.
pain.
Well, because on the other side of that pain that you're hitting on, man, is really connecting with what really matters to you. And I think
Yeah.
that's the thing where it's like, hey, these things, you're kind of saying, hey, I stay busy. When you're saying that stuff, man, and you're listening off what you're doing and how you're spending your time, what I'm hearing you say is like, I'm really connecting with those things in my life that really matter to me. And that's where I'm investing my energy. And that's where I'm investing my time because that pain's a reminder of what I got away from. And that's kind of that motivation, that inspiration to kind of be showing up the way you're showing up now, which is powerful. And you're dictating it and you're
It's
controlling it. And I know, Mark,
it's
you wanted to share something.
well, I do want to share something, and
Yeah.
and an analogy that I heard, and I think it's what we live through in recovery. Like Sergio's bringing up some great points here. I mean, just because we're sober and in recovery doesn't mean that we're not dealing with stresses or pain in life. We're still dealing with it. It's just that we embrace it and we meet it head on, and we got healthy coping skills. And that's like the difference. I always use the example of a cow and a bull when a storm is coming in. I don't know if you know the story about
I'm
that
not
or
familiar with this, Mark. Please.
Oh, where's
not.
this
Please.
going?
The
I am
cow,
moving to the edge of my seat right now.
the
I know.
cows will actually run
Yeah,
away
what's
from
Santa?
the
What do you
storm.
got to say, Santa?
No, there's Santa Claus. January
Yes.
15th, and he still got his Christmas decorations up. But no, the cow will run away from the storm, but the storm will eventually catch up to them.
Mhm.
Okay. And they're going to keep running. And now they're going to be under the storm, and they're going to be in the storm for a longer period of time. A bull, this is true, this is factual. A
Yep.
bull will actually run to the storm, meet it head on, and run through the storm. And therefore, the time that they're in the storm is actually far less than the actual cow that's running away from the storm.
Mm.
If you really think about it from an addiction perspective or alcohol perspective, what are we doing? We're
Yeah.
running away from the storms of life, and all we're doing is creating a time frame where we're going to be in a storm for a much longer period of time and deal with more chaos because of our drinking or drug usage or gambling, whatever it might be,
Yeah.
as opposed to hitting it head on. When you're in recovery, you embrace it, you
Mhm.
welcome it, you hit it head on. Yeah, you're going to have challenging times, but we know how to actually handle that now in a healthy coping way. And we're going to be in that storm, whatever it might be, whether it's a death of a relative, a relationship falling apart,
Yeah.
stress at work, losing a job, whatever it might be. You're going to embrace that, and you're going to be under that storm for a shorter period of time, and it's a much more healthier way of actually handling things. You guys never heard that before?
Never heard that, man. But it reminds me of something I heard where it's like, hey, you can fight reality all you want, but at the end of the day, reality always wins. So
No.
I think that's kind of like you're talking, like it resonates because it's true.
It's
It's
like
like,
that Latin saying. There's a Latin saying, and a lot of people in recovery actually have this as a tattoo on their body. And I don't have a tattoo, but I do want to get a tattoo, and I want this actually on there. This is what I want, and it's a Latin saying called "amor fati," and what that means is for the love of fate.
Mhm.
That means whatever life throws at you, you accept it, you embrace it, you hit it head on, and you run right through it. You
Exactly.
welcome it.
And I
And we've
think
had
for
some
me,
conversations like that, Sergio.
yeah, no, I mean, and I think for both of you, and I think in me, you go through a whole lot, Justin. Everybody, for me, it took me this many years, and I hope it don't take that many years for a lot of people who are watching this and don't all, think about it, just act, I've known I've had this problem for many, many years.
Yeah.
I've known that. Again, I didn't put in my mind, I'm just a heavy drinker,
Right.
right? I'm just a weekend warrior. I'm working, shoot. I ain't no
Yeah.
drunk. I don't
I
fall
deserve
over the
this.
bed,
What are you talking about, man?
It's, it's
right? And all of those years that I know I should have done it. And then I've talked to my other friends who've been sober, and then with Mark, I think that just resonated. That enough is enough, man.
yeah.
50 something years. Shoot, what the hell? What took you so long? But everybody's different, and unfortunately, people don't react, don't get scared. My dad had colon cancer, Justin, for 2 years. I go, hallelujah, he stopped.
Yeah.
Finally, he faced death. He was gonna die. He got his whole colon. He had what is it? A colonoscopy, not colonoscopy.
With the bag. Yeah, I
Bag.
know what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you're
Yes,
talking about.
I can't remember the name of it, but his bag where he had a,
Colostomy bag, right?
yes, and
Sounds
he stopped. He stopped, and I thought that was it, and he didn't. And unfortunately, a lot of them are not going to stop. But that's where, hopefully, me being here, and I appreciate being on here with you guys. That it's something resonates in them. That at least contemplate. Hey, what am I doing? Is it healthy? No. Is it waste of money? Yeah. Is it affecting not only my health but my family? Yeah. Then hello, you got a problem. And people don't like to say that to themselves. I got a problem. But again, like Mark was saying, you go through your pain. The other animal is actually a buffalo. To your point, Mark, a buffalo rides through the storm.
Well,
They
maybe it was a
go
buffalo.
against.
Then I don't know. Maybe I got it wrong.
It's still, he's still a good animal. You're a bull, but it is the buffalo.
Maybe I got it wrong.
No,
I thought it was whatever. But
no, the
you
herd
get
of
my point.
buffalo
It is
walk
true.
into the storm, Justin, literally, because
Yeah.
I watch my National Geographics, believe it or
That's
not.
what
So
it was, a buffalo. That's what it was. My
it is
bad,
a herd of
guys. My bad,
buffalo.
everybody
Right.
in
So
podcast
nobody
land.
needs to write in and fact check you, is what I'm hearing, Mark. I think we did
Well,
it right here
it's
live.
the
Fantastic.
concept. It's the concept that I'm trying to drive home. It's a great
It,
analogy.
it,
It
it
is a
check
buffalo.
this
My
out. And
bad.
even to your point, Mark, and to go on to this example, freaking buffalo, they're up to snow that they literally they're stand about 4 feet. They walking where the snow is up to here, just and they're still walking through the snow. We're buried sometimes as being sober, that we're buried mentally in problems, deep in snow, deep in crap. But you know what? We're still getting up. We're still trying to look up ahead, trying to, like the OC, keep your head up. Be
Exactly.
proud, keep your eyes up. You weather the storm. You're deep in crap. You're deep in problems. The easy way out is drinking and drugs. That's the easy way out. But guess what? You're still you the next day. And then what? You're gonna waste more money.
Exactly.
You're gonna deteriorate your health. You're gonna cause chaos in your health and your family. It's not worth it, man. It is not worth it.
No. And I think that's the thing where it's kind of saying, hey, like, I got to face all these things I've been running from, trying to get away from. I don't know if I can handle all this once I kind of put this down, and I got to face me, the thing I'm trying to get away from. And I think sometimes people lose sight of, like, hey, your track record for getting through crappy days is at 100%. You've gotten through those days that you thought you would never get through to see the next day. And so you have a lot more strength within you than we sometimes like actually acknowledge and give ourselves credit for, because it's easier to kind of like pick apart, tear apart, and highlight on those things that aren't meeting the standards. And so,
No,
I mean, dude,
perfectly said.
Sergio, I'm like thrilled that you're able to join us tonight, man. I think this is an amazing conversation, and your story of kind of what you witnessed, what you went through, the changes you made, and really showing up in those relationships in your life that really matter and are important to you is like so inspiring, man. So really, your story is fantastic. And before we get out of here for this evening, I want to open up Marc, Sergio, any closing comments you guys got before we kind of wrap this up and call it a show?
Well, I mean, Sergio's my brother, man. He knows how I feel about him. I love him like a brother. So
Yeah,
thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
No, I appreciate it. I know during this time, well, you said in January, which is still, if you will, during the time of or after the holidays. I know holidays are really tough all around for a lot of people that don't have their loved ones, or are still sick. So I'm hoping, during these tough times that people will reflect on this and maybe start the new year on a positive note, that, they partied last month, December, now for the year 2025. I'm hoping this can kind of resonate with them and start the new year really with a sound-minded and a good resolution to help themselves, no matter what situation it is, to help themselves and seek help, either from your spiritual advisor, your priest, your family, friends, strangers. Just be out there and talk. There is help out there, like with you guys. And like I said, you and Marc, Justin have been really pivotal in my recovery, watching his videos and watching your guests. So I appreciate being on your YouTube here, and hopefully people will come out on a new year with a new resolution and a better year, right? For their lives.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
So thank you guys. And hey, we're happy everybody's joining us on these discussions. These podcasts air on the 15th and the 30th of each month, so be sure to tune in. Marc and I are open to comments or suggestions, so feel free to go to our website at namidupage.org/podcast to connect with us and share any suggestions you might have. So thank you all once again for joining us, and we look forward to you joining us on our future episodes. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for joining us today on Healing Minds, Stories of Resiliency and Recovery. If you're on the journey to find guidance and insights, subscribe now wherever you find your podcasts. Healing Minds, Stories of Resiliency and Recovery is an educational resource, not a substitute for medical or therapeutic advice. The opinions expressed by the hosts and their guests are not necessarily those of NAMI DuPage. Go to namidupage.org/podcast for links to past episodes, show notes, and to submit a question or topic ideas for a future episode. Until next time, be well.